So in today's topic, we're talking about list in Python. So let's say you want to go to the grocery store to go get items that you need. So first what you do is you're going to write a list of those items that you need. So let's say we want to write a list of items that we need. So let's say we write them. We have pencil, we have toy, we have fruits, pen, rice, and then I think that's what I've already written that. So I wrote it down when you showed it before the video. So and normally what you do is that you create a variable for each of these items. Let's say we want to have item. We're going to have item 1. We're going to have item 1. Sorry, this is also important. So we're going to have item 1. Item 1 we're going to have pencil. So pencil. Item 2. Item 2. We'll have toy. Then we have item 3. Item 3, we're going to have fruits. Item 4, we're going to have, okay, I'm not putting the numbers, sorry. So let me just do it this one. Item 4, we're going to have item 4, we're going to have pen. Let's finish this up. Item 5. Item 5, we're going to have rice. So this is alright. So let's go back up. So this is item 2, item 3. Okay, so when you run this, it saves it, and then when you need to call out an item, item 1. When you run this, you get your first item. So the first item is pencil. So now normally in Python this is actually ambiguous and then time consuming. So what we do in what list does is that it wraps the whole item in one cell. So instead of creating different variables for it, you just create one big variable. You don't just use one big variable. You're going to hold on to all the whole items inside. So we're going to do this. So okay, let's do this. So we have so now for the list, we're going to have items. And now we're going to have this, and then we open this, and then I'm going to wrap it inside this list. So we have first is pencil. Do not forget this pencil. Then second we have toy. Third we have don't need this cell. Continue this one. And third we have fruits. Then we have pen. And then lastly we have rice. So you see, when you run this and then you print items, you run this. Now you're going to have it this way. You have pencil, toy, fruits, pen, and then rice. So to identify an item in the list, so let's say you want to where a certain item is in the list. So we use index. So an index if you watched my last video on strings, it's just so similar. So we have use this items, and then so in Python, this we store this if you want to store this start from 0. This start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's say you want to return the first one. The first one is going to be 0. So when you do this and you run this, you're going to be having pencil. So I think this would connect before it runs. So items 0, we have pencil. If you do this for another one, let's say you do for, let's say you want to bring back the last item, which is rice. So you can do this, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So do this and you run this, you should have your rice. So we have rice. So let's say you want to change an item to another. So just to okay, since we still have this, so I'm going to be using this here. So let's say you want to change pencil to another item. So let's say we have item, and then we want to change pencil. So you do this, the index, and then the quotation, you put chips. So when you run this, okay, we are getting an error based on name. There is no word called item. I didn't put the S. So let's run this again, put in the S. So it's very important when writing Python that you should be very observant of your code, because one letter could just create an error, or just something just like this. So we have items, 0, and then we have chips. So now when I do this, pencil now is going to be changed to chips. So now when I print items, 0, you're no longer going to have pencil, rather you're going to be having chips. So to see it in a more clear way, let me do this. Let me print items itself. So if you print items itself, you should have chips, toy, and then pencil. So to access a range of items in this list, so do this. Let's say you want to know where this particular item is, or maybe you do not have the items by by their names, but you have them by normally Python. When you store items, it does this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then so on. So you want to access pencil, so we use the index. So when you do this items, and then 0, when you run this, you have chips. Okay, let me do this. Okay, sorry, let me do this again. Let me run this again. So copy and then paste. Let me do this. Okay, so let's say items, and then when you run this, exactly. So this start over. So we have items, and then 0. When you run this, you have pencil. So let's say you want to access two different items at once. So we have this, we have items, and then the first item is going to be, let's say you want to access pencil and toy, so 0. So in Python, when you want to access two items, when you call out the first one, it totally ignores the second number. So what you're going to do is that you're going to do 1 plus 1, then give the next number. So let's say you want to access pencil and toy. So instead of having 0 and 1, you will have 0 and 2. So when you run this, you're going to have pencil and toy. So let's say you want to access the last, item in the, in the list. So you can have items, and then you just have a negative 1. So this is going to go like from the last one and then starts returning. So when you do this, you're going to have rice, which is the last one. So let's say you want to change an item within the list. So let me use a new cell code for this, coding cell, sorry. So let's say you want to change an item. So let's say you want to change item. Okay, let me just use the one I used before. So let's say you want to change pencil to another item. So you have change this to, let's say, chips. Let's change this to chips. So when you run this and then you print it, you are going to have chips, toy, fruit, pen, and then rice. So let's say you're going to the grocery store and then on your way there you want to add another item to your list, inside your list. So that's what we call append. So in append, you do items, and then items dot append, then open the brackets, and then you put in what you want to append inside. Let's say you want to append butter. So when you run this, now when you print items, okay, I spelled this wrongly, I'm a bit rusty. Toy, fruits, pen, rice, butter. Butter. I think I initially added butter before this time around. Let me do this once more. Let me do this again. So okay, let me do this. Well, let me change this to chips. Instead of change this to chips. This, and then we have items, and this exactly. So we have items. So now let's do the append. Items append. So we do this, and then we run this. So now let's print items. We're gonna have just one butter. So let's say you want to do you want to append this new item, but you want to give it like a particular position of your own choice, not just add it to the end. You want to like add it to the first or the second or whatever. So we're going to use an insert. So we're going to have items. We're going to have items. Then we have insert. Insert. And then you have your open brackets. So now the index which you want to add it to, you have to add it in the first, second, or whichever place you want to add it to. So let's say you want to add it to the second one, which is 1, and then we have item insert 1, and then comma, and then whatever you want to append. If you want to append juice, so you want to append juice. So when you run this, So now we print items. So we have chips, juice, toy, fruit, pen, rice, water. So you see where you appended. It inserted itself in the second one because this is 0, 1. So now, let's say you have two lists. Let's say you're on your way to go to the grocery store, and then you have your own list, and then if someone called and I was like, please can you help me get this list of items too. So let's say in the first list, so I'll just go up here and copy this. So let's say I'll go up here and copy this. Oh wait, let me use this last one. Let me use this last. Okay, let me use this one. So we have so let's say we have this. So copy this. So we have this. Items, but we're going to change this from items to IT1. Let's just call this IT1, which is item 1 with the initials, and then this is for IT2. So in this IT2 we have something similar, but let me say you just have two items inside, which is a cup. This is in caps lock. Let me change it to cup, and then let's say you have let's say you have fish. Let's say you have fish. So now if you want to append these two items, when you run this, these two items will simultaneously save. So now to do an append, what you do is this: you call them items, that's the whole items together, is equals to, then you do the, in this place we add them together, where we have IT1 plus IT2. So when you do this, when you run this, and then now you print items, and now when you print items, you should have pencil, toy, fruit, pen, rice, cup, and then fish. So to join all of them together in one place. So now let's say you want to concat, whereby you want to add a string to, let me know your string. Let's say you want to add an item to a list. So remember that a list contains a group of items together, while you just want to add one item. So this is what I'm trying to say. Let's say you want to add items. Let's say you want to add items. So we have items plus, we have items, then we have plus. So let's say you want to add one more item to this. Let's say you want to add biscuit. So when you do this, biscuits, and then you run this, let's see what we get back in return. So we're going to get an error. Why do we get an error? You can't add a string or a number to a list. You can only add two lists together, but you can't add a number and so you said you can only concatenate list, not string to list. So we're trying to show people a possible error that people omit, or possible mistakes, that people commit when trying to add a string to a list, which is not possible. So now we have something we call the length function. So let's say you want to know the number of items in the list. So here we do this, we have len, len. So we have len, then we have this items. So when you run this, okay, sorry, I used this instead of this instead of, sorry. So we have this items. So when you run this, so we have 7 items. Let me print it now so you guys will see how we got 7. So we have items, and then when you run it, we have 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then finally we have 7. So that's what we call the in operator. So the in operator is a way you can use to check if an item is in a list or is not, in a list. So the way we do this is by just like asking a question. So okay, I already opened coding, so let me close this and then use this one. So let's say you want to ask, you want to know if an item is inside a list. So the way you do this is by asking the question. So you say, let me say I want to check for pencil. So you do this, so you do this pencil, sorry. So you do this pencil in items. When you run this, if it is in the items, you're going to get true. If it's not there, you're going to get false. So we're going to ask ruler in items. When you run this, you're going to get false. Items built-in. When you run this, okay, sorry. When you run this, you're going to get false. So see you in the next video.